night is the Rangers Journal night.
Hello and welcome to the Rangers Journal. My name is Billy Rankin. I'm going to be going through a few things this evening. We're first of all going to have a little talk over the game from Sunday at Hibs, and then we're going to have a little special topic to look at, which I'll surprise a few of you guests with because I hadn't given any pre-warning. Ricky knows, but we'll come to it when we get to it. I may as well start with you, Ricky. How are you getting on, mate?
Good evening, Billy, Ryan, Jock, lads. Happy New Year to all the kind of listeners before it's too late into the year. Good, mate. Obviously, mixed emotions from yesterday. I know we're going to go into it, but it's a new year and it can only be up for me because right now, apart from the Celtic game, it's been pretty low. So let's here's hoping for a good 2025 for us in our club.
I'll come to you next, Ryan, because that's a lovely top you're wearing. Want to tell us how it feels?
First class, mate. First class. Always good to be in blue, mate. Always good to be in blue.
Well, thanks for joining us this evening. And last but not least, Jock, how are you, mate?
Not too bad, mate. Thanks for having me.
Good stuff, good stuff. Well, we did do a bit, the channel did a deep dive yesterday after the game and did a kind of post-match reaction. We'll go over the game a little bit, but certainly not in an in-depth way. But first things first, Jock, I can't say anything more. I don't know what the words are to say how good Igaman has been these last couple of weeks, but nothing tops a hat-trick, does it? Especially a hat-trick away from home.
A perfect hat-trick too. Left
yeah.
It right header. So, just again, highlighting all the attributes that he has in his locker. We've seen every side of the big man yesterday, holding up the play, bullying defenders, scoring goals.
Has he paused for you as well?
Yeah.
You're back, Jock.
That's right. So I was talking about the header. Great header. Did all the work himself. Generated the power from the cross. Just unfortunate. Just at the last minute, he's hit the post with the one-on-one they had.
Ryan, the header goal that Jock mentions there is quite reminiscent of Morelos away. Was it Porto?
Feyenoord.
Sorry, I'm getting them.
It was actually that goal right here.
There you go.
It
reminds me very much. It reminds me very much of that. Is it too soon to be comparing them to top, peak Morelos?
I mean, possibly. I mean, it's maybe a good comparison to be getting compared to Alfredo. Obviously, he's scored a lot of great, fantastic goals for us. And I think that any kind of young striker coming from abroad, that's probably the benchmark of what you're looking at. Certainly his first few years for us anyway. So it's never too soon to be compared to a guy that's the record European goal scorer for us.
Going forward, do you start him ahead of Danilo in the big games?
I'd love to see them both every game, to be honest with you. I was actually disappointed Danilo didn't start at the weekend, but I feel as if Igaman does the hard legs and Danilo's doing the goal scoring for us. I don't think Danilo's the kind of striker that's going to come out and venture around and, pressurise, defensive centre midfielders like Igaman does. He doesn't seem to want to come wide like Igaman does. So I think there's space in the team for both of them in an ideal world, to be honest with you.
Ricky, we were chatting before. You were impressed with him yesterday as well. Did you want to sum up your kind of feelings just about Igaman in general?
Well, he is definitely a young Morelos, but he's got far more skill than Morelos. His work rate is just phenomenal. He's all over the place. He drops into midfield. He's looking for the ball. He's trying to link it. That first goal, it was his. He won the ball. His dominance, and then they get the ball back in for Hadji, and he started that and finished it incredibly well. The sky's the limit for the boy. I mean, he's got such quick feet as well. There's sometimes, there was one of the times where I think he could have took a shot first time, but he kind of feinted to go left, kind of quickly put it to his right, and his shot went by the post, so it took a deflection. So it ended up a corner. But it's just these little things here, and as the boy gets older and gets to know Scottish football and gets more confidence himself, he's going to be a player. So the problem is, can we keep a hold of him? That's going to be the next problem. But if he's quite an infectious lad, especially back home in Morocco, it'd be good to maybe hope that he might entice one or two others of that ilk. I mean, I've said for months and months now, Billy. He was part of an under-23 squad that got to the final of the Youth World Cup, and he was part. Morocco came third in the Senior World Cup. So there's a lot of good players in Morocco, and we've got one in our hands right now. So yeah, don't want to sort of put the boy in some sort of too high a pedestal at the moment, because don't want to take give him too much pressure. But tell you what, the boy's looking good, very, very good.
Jock, Ricky raises a good point there. Actually, like being able to attract other players when they see him coming in, because he didn't start the season. He didn't really come into it till a few months in, but that was the club getting him physically and mentally prepared to be playing the kind of schedule we play in. But there is something to be said for attracting the best talent from Morocco, because they're on an upward trajectory just now.
Well, it's one of these nations that have sunk money into their youth side of football, and it's paying dividends now. Like Ricky says, the youth team reached that final. I think they're going to beat Spain in the final. I think that day.
Mm-hmm.
I think something like that. So they're holding their own, and if we can bring players in that are going to help the team add value to the squad, and players that we can move on for profit, that's the trading model that we've been discussing for years now, that we've badly let ourselves down over the years with. This is something we need to tap into. Morocco is one of those countries. Again, with Colombia, with Morelos, when he first came across, we'd been looking at players there, and we still continue to do that with Cortez. So those sort of lesser countries are areas that we should and hopefully continue to try and poach talent from.
Mm-hmm. There's a comment there from Ian, Ryan, and this is a criticism I would say Morelos was known for, and that was coming too deep for the ball. Wrong one, sorry. Coming too deep for the ball. Do you think that's a fair accusation to throw at Igaman? That so far, is he just frustrated that he's not going to be involved as much as he would like to be?
Aye, possibly. I mean, he's got to remember he's still learning his trade as well. I think I mentioned in a previous podcast that sometimes he's actually maybe doing that a wee bit too much when he's coming out and he is winning the ball out wide and he looks up to put a cross into the box to himself, and himself's not there, obviously. So, but he's working for his team and he's working for his teammates. So I don't think coming too deep's a problem. As long as there are other players, willing to make the yards into the box and stuff like that. So I think kind of examples of other players that have scored goals, in the past few weeks that have ran into the box and, finished things off. I think maybe off the top of my head, I can't give you one, to be honest with you. But I don't think there's such a thing as working too hard for your team as long as you're doing it the right way.
Ricky, you mentioned before you'd like to see Danilo playing with him at the same time. That might be a good way of using them both. If he's doing a bit more work, outside the box, and Danilo's in the box to be the man to receive it. But we've seen kind of fleeting glimpses of them both together, haven't we?
Yeah, but it all comes down to the formations, how the manager's going to play that formation. You're talking about the two of them up top. You're then sort of looking at a 4-4-2. That's draconian. So a lot of people let you believe, or do you play one behind each other, or do you play three up top? Igaman and Cherny sort of swapping over, whatever. It all comes down to how you want to sort of train these people during the week to how they're going to perform on a Saturday. But the two players, obviously different type of players, but you can see Danilo's got a good football brain. Him and Cherny seem to have a great understanding when they get it going, and that's probably because of their days at Feyenoord. Perhaps, I'm not really too sure, but you link that up with Igaman, and maybe Cortez, when we do get him up and running, then things are looking quite good. But at this moment in time, our biggest problem is defence. We can't keep goals out. The goals, yes, we do need to start finishing these chances. And as I've said time and time again before as well, we are making the chances. We're dominating games 70-75% and winning games 1-0, drawing games. So the goals will come because we will create, but we cannot keep on continue to conceding these stupid goals. The defence is a priority for me in the next 3 weeks. We've got to sort it out. Even without the latest injury there, we needed another centre-half in. and now Sterling's gone, who isn't a centre half. Well, maybe he is, but for me, he's a right back. We've got Leon King and Proper, who are the only two fit senior centre halves I've got, and that isn't good enough for Rangers. So you've got to get into that market, and I'm not too sure whether the club's going to back the current manager because I don't think they trust him, and I'm not convinced he's going to see the month out. But that's just my opinion.
Jock, the defence is now, it was worrying at the weekend, it's now extra worrying because Sterling did do a good job in the Old Firm game, but he's injured again, and I hear from Clement he doesn't know for sure, but he doesn't think it's long term. It was disappointing to hear that Suter and Balogun are quite a few weeks away from being back in. The worrying thing, and I've said worrying a few times, it's all worrying. The worrying thing for me was the comment that about when Clement was asked about would they go in and spend money or would they go and get players, and it was that, well, Patrick Stewart's going to give you guys a lowdown on that. What do you think that means?
To me, that was just red flag. I was like, right, has he been promised something and it's now changed, or is he pushing this back on the board and putting the fans' expectations back on the board? I think that's probably what he's done in a cute way of doing it in the press conference. We're now 6:45 on Monday night, and we've still heard nothing. So, I'd be worried that as long as we get loans in, as long as we can bring in loans, we just need to cover that position, as Ricky says, because that's two of our senior players out, or senior centre backs out, and then just Ricky said, Sterling did well in the Old Firm and can fill that gap, but it's just a stopgap. It's not a permanent position for him. So we really are up against it in terms of bodies for centre backs, unless we drop somebody from midfield in, or we take maybe like Yefty. I think maybe Yefty could maybe do another job stopgap in there, just purely because he's got height and he might actually be able to head the ball. I mean, it's worrying at the moment, and we're well into January now, and we're still not. There's only rumours going about who we're bringing in. So ideally, it's two centre backs on loan that can come in and hit the ground running, or we bring back somebody who was banned from mentioning their name in the chat.
Well, Ryan, the same kind of point to you, that the position in centre half has now become, there's no way around it, but the loans don't come for free either. You do have to still pay a loan fee for players, certainly if you're wanting good ones. And I know we're linked to one of the Marseille defenders, but apparently he's come off injured in the recent game. No doubt we'll still sign him. But that now, there was positions in the team I felt we needed. I needed one centre half, I think I was thinking, but now we need two for definite. You could even say three, but that's probably not going to happen. Well, then going to weaken the areas we could have maybe done better in, couldn't we have?
Yeah, so I mean, centre back for me, I kind of pinpointed at the start of the season that it was a bit of a red area for us. Can't really trust the long-term fitness of John Suter. He's got previous for being such a bad injury record, so you've always got to have, precautions and, contingency ready for that. Balogun, again, doesn't have a great injury record, obviously considering his age as well. And Dujon Sterling, for whatever reason, can't seem to put 5 games together without needing about 2 or 3 weeks off. So you can't trust the long term of him. I would have really liked to have seen us sign another couple of centre halves, to be honest with you. It's perfectly obvious with Hibster goal on Sunday as well, that Leon King probably doesn't have what it takes to be a Rangers centre half. The way that he was just completely out-muscled from that corner kick just told me everything I need to know about him being a future centre half at the club. It's just not going to happen. Unfortunately, because obviously we'd like to have worked out, like to have had it work out for the boy. He's one of our own. He's come through an academy, but if you've not got it, you've not got it. I think this is like a serious urgent scenario, to be honest with you. And I was saying Sunday before the game, if Walter Smith was still the manager of Rangers, we'd have signed something the 1st of January, and they'd have been playing the 2nd of January to stop that happening. He'd have been down south. He'd have probably taken a 34-year-old English centre half out the English League One who wasn't featured and brought him up the road and say, right, when you're coming up, bring your boots with you because you're starting tomorrow. Just a reliable, experienced centre half that could have just went straight into the team. But for whatever reason, we've not done it, and I'm really concerned. And I don't want to use the word worried again, like you were, but it's a real kind of area for concern. To be honest with you, but we have to take action. We need to take it now.
The last kind of thing I wanted to talk about with the match yesterday, and I'll come to you, Ricky, because we were discussing it before we went live, and that was the penalty incident. Now, I've watched Sky's Ref Watch today. Dermot Gallagher, I think, was kind of reticent to criticise the referee and say it's just what he's seen and VAR wouldn't overrule him. But the two other panellists there were absolutely astounded that was given as a penalty, and I've got to say that's my view on it as well, that I don't know why that was given as a penalty. What was your thoughts?
I'm totally gobsmacked, mate. I don't care what MD tries to tell me or try to convince me, and there's people in our chat who thinks it's a penalty. And I won't name them, they know who they are. No way, ever in a month of Sundays is that a penalty kick. How'd you get booted at the back of the legs? He got in front of the ball. He won that ball and was taken out. I'm not one of these conspiracy theorists, Billy. I don't believe in that. You know, referees will make mistakes, and I don't really blame the referee. But VAR has been introduced to get that right. You know, they should have been getting pulled back to the monitor to overturn that. But it's as if they just want to back up their mate in the middle of the park so they don't make him look like a clown. There's something going on at the moment. You know, it's just the Celtic game. You know, you could go on and on and on and on. You know, for the past 5 years, decisions that are going against us is now, it's ridiculous the amount of getting racked up. And our club, for me, needs to start calling this out, because that is never a penalty kick. Never, ever, ever, ever. Nobody's going to convince me otherwise. Never.
It's quite well. You're quite convinced anyway, Jock. I don't know what were you saying in the chat about it? Were you one of the ones, Ricky, saying the
more I see it, and the more you see it, if you see it in a still, it looks like the Hibs players ran at the back of him and kicked him, and therefore it doesn't look like a penalty. But when you see it in full motion, it's just clumsy. And I think if Haji's a half a yard of pace quicker, I think Haji's there and takes the ball away, clear or knocks out for a corner. I don't think Haji's to worry about the contact from the player. I just think Haji probably does get him there in front of him, but me personally, I wouldn't make that kind of attempt for the ball in the box at that position. I would.
You've got to make a challenge, Jock. You've got to make a challenge. I was going to get a shot away.
That's it. He slid in and not.
And he won that ball and was kicked in the back of his legs. He got in front of the ball. He won the ball.
See, it's so contentious. It's so contentious. Everybody's got their own opinion, and
he's got to make the challenge. Otherwise, the boy gets a shot away. I mean, he's 8 yards out.
He does.
I thought he did well. I think it was a good challenge. I think he got in front of the ball. He won the ball.
Ryan, let me cut over you a second, because I'm going to come to Ryan, because it was. I'm not saying it's similar, but we've had 2 goals chopped off against us for a Morelos, I think, getting in front of the
Emre Can. Emre Can it was.
And then the roof goal that was chopped off because Dessers gets in front, as a Lagerbielke gets in front of. There does seem to be some rule change that I'm too old to have taken on board, that just because you're getting in front and win the ball doesn't mean that it's not a free kick.
Well, you remember the penalty that Matt O'Reilly was given for Celtic as well?
Yeah.
Where he kicked into the back of Diamandi and took his a wee tumble as well. So, for me, I'm obviously going to say it's not a penalty, but I can understand why the referee on the park gave it at the time, because it was a bit of a coming together. It did look clumsy from Haji. Haji's came from the guy's kind of blind side. The way the referee was positioned on the park at the time, I thought I was worried about it. But the VAR's got to step in and at least request, come at the monitor and have another look at this, because there is an angle here that suggests that Haji's actually nipped in and taken the ball in front of him, and before the contact was actually made. But again, the VAR's done in 10 seconds. We don't even know for a fact if the VAR actually got involved. But if they did, like the cup final, it was over very, very quickly.
Yeah, it was, yeah. I'm assuming, I mean, we see comments as VAR checking that. I'm led to believe from the few YouTube videos I've watched on how the process works, yeah, they're watching everything, but you don't necessarily get made aware of it unless, it's something that they want to have a closer look at or bring to the referee's attention. Ricky, well, our away form is awful, really is awful. Our home form is still pretty good. I think, was it Dundee United's only game we've dropped points at home? Are you still of the opinion that Clement needs to go?
Yes. In one word, yes. I think he's had his time. I think we've all been saying this ever since the Aberdeen game, that if it was Beale or Gio, you know, the curtain was pulled in them after the run of the results, and the board decided to make a decision and move them on. Whether it was right or whether it's wrong, the decision was made. But what has Clement done ahead of Beale or ahead of Gio? And you know, for me, he's now got a worse record. He's there isn't a plan for me, Billy. You know, we're seeing glimpses of that. Just there isn't a pattern of play. It's just it's very frustrating that, you know, I just feel that we do need to move him on now. I know you're going to come into a few slides, mate, if there was alternative for interim managers, and I get that. But for me, and I know everybody's got their own opinions, but for me, Rangers need to move on from Clement now and start building either with a permanent new manager or an interim manager until we get a permanent one in the summer.
Jock, what's your opinion?
I was of the opinion that his time was up, and my fear was that he'll get a result against them, and we'll just end up back at square one, and then the first game after it, we're back at square one. So, yeah, that was my fear before that. I was like, he'll get a result here. I wasn't expecting performance right enough, but granted, the performance was great, but then, you know, we started all right at the weekend, but we still can't see the game out. And that's where Achilles' heel, and has been under our away form under Clement is shocking in the league. And that's not going to win you titles. It's not going to win you cups, that kind of form. So, you know, he needed that result against Celtic, and it's gotten by the skin of his teeth. But how long are we going to cling on to him now? As Ricky says, there's no definitive style of play. We're relying on a couple of players to do a good couple of bits of link-up play and hope for something the best. And granted, we're able to do that. But we're not seeing any progress in the defensive side of things. We're not shoring ourselves up at the back at all. And that, for me, is what's killing Clement's Rangers managerial career in a nutshell.
And Ryan, I'll ask you your opinion before we come on to the next segment. Are you looking for him to still go?
I think it's just inevitable, to be honest with you. There's no credit in the bank anymore. There's just too many chances, too many bad results, particularly away from home in the league this season. It's inevitable. I think the board are going to be reluctant to give him money now because they probably see it's inevitable as well. The result in New Year, the Old Firm game, is just papered over the cracks. And to be perfectly honest, I don't think we were particularly great on the second. I don't think we were fantastic. I thought they were really, really, really poor. It's the worst I've seen them since their time under Lennon when we won 55. And I was surprised how poor they were. And I think that attributed a lot to the fact that we did win the game. If they'd showed up that day, you know, you don't know what had happened, but for whatever reason, they never got out of their beds. They just never got out the blocks at all. So I think we just need to start this again. I think we need to get a new manager in that's going to bring confidence from the board. I think we need to get Patrick Stewart's man in, to be honest with you, who will hopefully be given some funds to reinforce the squad. Because, being honest as well, this is where half these bad results have came from. It's the size of the squad and how thin we are. We're 3 or 4 injuries away, and we're basically a disaster at the moment defensively. So we need more players in, but the players need to come with money.
Well, I was of the opinion that he needed to go, but I wasn't wanting to bring in a new manager to basically be, you know, tarred with the stink of this season. So the reason I bring this up is because I want to look at, and I don't know what devices you guys are using, so I hope you can see these slides, but it's not a permanent manager, it's the interim manager possibilities. So picked a few candidates to look at. Some names were more common to me than others. But we'll go through a few of them, guys, and we'll see. So the first section is going to be possibly more likely than not, and then the second section will be managers probably not likely, but we could talk about their credentials and see if it's somebody you would take as a interim position till we appoint someone in the summer. So if you're okay with that, we'll start off with Rangers legend Stephen Davis. Now I'll go through a couple of the pros and cons, and you can come in. So Stephen Davis knows the club, obviously, knows a lot of the players that are there. He's probably not looking to get the job permanently. He'd probably want to grow somewhere else before coming back to be the permanent manager here. Most likely introduce more youth players, and he also has the respect from the players with the history. I guess the cons, he's never managed apart from those 2 games, which weren't particularly great. And he also could be susceptible to having some favourites in the squad. So, Ryan, I'll come to you first. Stephen Davis on an interim basis, what do you think?
Certainly part of a team. My worry is sometimes when we're looking at these interim managers, particularly somebody like Davis, is we've still got at least 2 European games left to play. And you may be aware that they've got to have the UEFA licence to actually stand at the touchline. You remember what happened with Naismith at Hearts, where he wasn't actually allowed to stand at the touchline. So if the manager is going to get bagged, whoever's going to come in, or at least part of the team, has to have that UEFA licence. So we need to consider that first of all. But in answer to Stephen, 100%, blew through and through. It's a difficult one. I think the 2 games that he managed were away to Aris. I think one of them was 2-1 each. Or did we get beat 2-1? I think that was one of them.
Yeah,
it was an away game. I think we did lose that night. Possibly. 5 out of 10. For me,
that's good. Guys, give me an out of 10 number, because we could say possibly to all these people I'm going to bring up. So I don't want to say the same thing for each one. So you're 5 out of 10. That's great. Jock, I'll come to you next. You don't look as convinced. I don't know if I just was reading your body language wrong.
Look, I love Stephen Davis. I live 15, 20 minutes from where he's grew up over here. And I think he's been a tremendous servant for the club. But as a manager, an interim manager, I think he's been there, he's done that. He's got his badges. I want him to go, cut his cloth somewhere else and come back and be a Rangers manager at some point, because I think he's got all the attributes to do that, because he's carried himself as a player through every club he's been at, and he has that stature, he'll have that presence, he'll have that respect from anybody because of the level of football he's played and the caps he has for Northern Ireland, and he'll have a lot of contacts. But right now, for me, I don't think he'd be the right interim manager. So out of 10, I'll maybe give him a 3.
3 out of 10. Ricky, let's come to you next.
No, not for me, mate. I loved him as a player. He goes down as a legend to me. But so did John Gregg and Ali McCoy, and it didn't work out for them either, mate. I just don't. What Rangers need is a team of coaches, managers, whoever it may be, the leader, like Tom Colshaw, Gary McAllister, people who can work behind him. I mean, we need somebody that can do set pieces. Can win his goals at corners. We need a set of coaches. Mate, one manager ain't going to do this, and a whole lot needs to be cleared out, because what are they doing behind the scenes Monday to Friday? I beggars belief to me. I love the wee man. I think he's a great player, but at this moment in time, as an interim manager, I don't see the fit, mate. Not for me.
Right, out of 10, then on you go.
Probably a 3.
3 as well. Well, so not convincing for Steve Davis. I'm going to lean heavily on the scales for the next candidate. Because he came and did an interview with us here, so I'm a big fan of Kevin Thompson, but also liked what he said when he was on that interview with us about the influence he took from Walter Smith. So go through some of the pros and cons of Kevin Thompson. Scottish, knows the club again, like Stephen Davis, knows the players. He has been involved in the background before. Wouldn't want the job permanently. I don't know if I agree with that. I think he'd maybe, if he did well, he'd maybe want it. He's worked with youth players. He currently works with youth players at his own academy. He has some managerial experience, and one thing that came out to me when I spoke to him was about the standards of Rangers and how Walter Smith made sure all the players knew what they were. He would also bring that level of standards. The level of his previous management goes against him, and apparently and he currently runs his own coaching, I think we already said. So I'll start at the top this time, Ricky. What do you make of Kevin Thompson coming in short term?
Again, going back to what I was saying, I would have him and the man in your next slide. I won't disclose that yet because I know what the slides are, but I'd have both of them in Ibrox in the coaching capacity, 100%, but with a leader. Somebody like a Sam Allardyce, mate, interim to lead, but people like him and the man in the next slide in coaching our group of players. I just don't think Kevin Thompson. Again, I go back to Ali McCoy, John Gregg. Rangers men through and through, but just didn't work for them, and I don't see where it would work for Kevin as the main man at this moment in time. As much as we love the boy, but Christ, he would do a good job in their coaching level. That's for sure with the first team.
I definitely don't disagree with that, Ricky. So give me an out of 10 if you had to get the job.
I would probably prefer him more than Stephen Davis, mate. So I'd give him maybe a 5.
A 5, okay. Right, Jock, let's come to you. What's your opinions?
Much aligned with Ricky on this one. I think in a coach capacity, I love to have him in the building around the players, teaching them sort of his craft, because his style was quite unique, and there were not many like that about football these days, or even Scottish football for that matter. So to have him leaning on players, but somebody like Raskin and Barn, you know, the stuff that they could pick up from him would go tenfold for their development. But again, I don't think as a head man, not personally. Again, I think it's somewhere he needs to go and get his own, cut his cloth again somewhere else and work his way up. So out of 10, I'll probably give you a 2 less than.
All right, okay. So you even less than Stephen Davis. Okay, Ryan. I mean, I'm sure you loved him as a player, like myself. Would he? I know, you know, he has been involved in the back room before. Would you trust him for 4 or 5 months to lead the team?
I think there's merit there, certainly. I mean, we only are talking for a few months just to carry the can for us. I loved him as a player, as you say. I actually thought he was going to be the captain of the club at some point until he was sold due to financial constraints that we had at the time. He's somebody I've been kind of touting to actually be more involved. I'd have him next to the first team all day rather than somebody like Alec Ray at the moment. But leadership qualities, not absolutely no doubt. I think you get the fire in the belly, you would get the players up for it. Part of a team, definitely. 6 out of 10 for me for him.
Okay, mate. Right. I hope the slide's in the right order, Ricky, and I've not mucked you up with whoever this next person is in the wrong order. But Neil McCann, Ryan, I'm going to say I'm not a huge fan of Neil McCann. I'm a huge fan of him as a player. I'm not a fan of him as a pundit. I don't feel he really bigs the club up very much. In fact, he was noticeably slagging a few players off over the years. But he does know the club well. He does know the league well. He probably wouldn't want the job permanently, and he does have previous managerial experience as a caretaker. But that, you know, he's not what since 2021. And there's a pundit, which I don't think stops him. You know, Ali came in and was the Scotland assistant manager when he was on Question of Sport, wasn't he? So it doesn't preclude you from it. So how do you feel about Neil McCann?
He'd be, of all the ones that I've seen that you're giving me, he's the one I would like the most, I think. I'm led to believe that his managerial style at Dundee, he was quite an aggressive manager, but he quite a few demands and really kind of strong needs from his players, that if they were underperforming in any sort of way, that he made it kind of, you know, well known that they were, you know, under expectations of what he's got. And I think, to be honest with you, the players that we've got at the moment, I think someone could deal with a right kick up the backside, to be honest with you. Especially someone that would rather sit in the physio room than actually be on the park for us, picking up, arguably stealing wages from us. So yeah, he's probably the one on an interim basis. He's had top level experience in the league as well. So of the ones you're giving me, I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10.
Good stuff, mate. 8 out of 10. I'm surprised at that, actually. I thought you'd be the least popular. Oh, you know, there's only one. Basically, it's 1 against 1 at the moment. Jock, let's come to you. What do you know about Neil McCann's previous work, if you do know anything, and would you have him on an interim basis?
Dundee was that, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Did he try to keep them up and then they got rid of him before they went down?
I only remember he had to have a fight with someone after a game.
They stayed up and Charlie Adam kept them up, or Charlie Adam come after he stayed with them and they went down, he stayed and got them back up, and then he retired, didn't he?
I defer to you, was the on it, mate. I'm not up with his Dundee record, but it's a suggestion as a manager. So
0.
What are you thinking?
None. Don't want them.
Don't want him? No, I agree with you. I'm a 0 on the scale on this one.
Nah, no.
Ricky, what's your thoughts?
No, I don't want him in, but I'd love him as one of the coaches, mate. Again, we need somebody stronger. You know, I made that point already. I mean, let's just turn this about here. If Celtic were in the same position, would they want Scott Brown in? You know, he's a perfect man for them, isn't he? Celtic wouldn't consider him. You know, just because he played and he was a legend at the club and won all these trophies doesn't make him a good manager. You know,
He did put Neil
and I
Lennon
think,
in there twice.
yeah, he was quite successful, Neil Lennon, to be fair to him. You know, he was certainly okay at Hibs and he did a decent job at Celtic. But yeah, I think McCann did a reasonably decent job up at Cardiff Thistle as well before he got the Dundee job. I think that's the way it worked. How he went the other bit. You know, he's had reasonable success, but no, I wouldn't want him as the main man. But I'd have him in 2 minutes in that coaching staff. Their coaching staff are just not producing the goods, and obviously the manager is just acceptance of that, and that's proven. What is it? 900 corners or something. We've scored one. You know what's going on. What is going on? So we need to revamp the whole of our coach and his staff. It's going to be expensive. It needs to be done.
So out of 10, if he'd given the role.
Well, I'll give him a 5 as well, please, Billy, because I'd like to see him and Kevin Thompson both in at Ibrox and the coaching staff.
You're winning me over with him and Katie, so we'll move on. David McCallum. So knows the club and surroundings. I'll start with you again, Ricky. We'll go back down the way. I apparently wouldn't want the job regularly. More youth players being the B team manager. Plays better football with the B team than Clement. That I know that as an opinion. But he doesn't have any first team managerial experience, and experienced players might not take to him. So, Ricky, what do you think of David McCallum? Obviously, but the B team seems to do okay.
Yeah, but I mean, their B team, mate, on paper should be running riot against any other team in Scottish football, you know, less Celtic. It just, you know, we've got players, Hadji being the prime example, you know, before he was put into the first team picture. We've got players on big money, big, huge wages. Leon King, you know, these players playing in the B team, they should be. You know, I could go in there and probably do a decent job with the B team. And it doesn't mean I'm going to get the Rangers gig. So, no, not for me, no.
Not for you, okay. Out of 10?
A 0.
0 out of 10. Okay, that's my Neil McCann one. Jock, let's come to you on him now. No, I follow the B team when they get a good result or whatever, but not like I'm watching them every week. But so I don't know how well he does. What Ricky's saying, if he should be doing better than he's doing. But if he to come in as the interim, but focus on this just being the interim manager for a few months, what would you think?
I think it would be a case of just, you know, the club sort of promoting from within in terms of this is an interim thing and it's just going to be until, I don't imagine the club would give until the end of the season at the point we're at, because there's too much football to be played and there's too many, still essentially 2 trophies on the line. So I don't imagine that the club would have him in place for too long, maybe a game or two. To be honest, I don't really take much involvement with the B team stuff, so I haven't seen much. I only know that, you know, he has guys like Lowry and the young centre back we signed there from the summer playing in there, and then there's a few others in there, a couple of young ones that are on the bench but are not getting minutes in the first team. Now, that would be my first question: is if they're not getting minutes in the main team from the B team. Is that part of the problem? So to me, I wouldn't see it happening. I wouldn't be for it at all. Just
okay.
Keep him back in the B team, and I'll go another 0 on that one.
0 on that one. Ryan, I mean, I'm being honest. I don't follow the B team as Jock was saying as well. So I don't know if you do any more than us. So what's your thoughts on David McCallum?
Well, the B team have got to semi-finals of the Challenge Cup as well. So they're doing okay. I think they're probably punched above their weight. The B team needs to be in the pyramid system if it's going to be looked at as a success. But for whatever reason, Scottish football doesn't want that to happen. Probably suit their own agenda more than anything else. But on McCallum, there's 3 main reasons why, for me, it can't happen. One, the way our fans would receive it, it would just look as if we've chucked the towel in. And that's reason number 2. You imagine what other clubs would look at if we appointed him as manager. We basically chucked it. If we put him in as our manager, we've no interest in competing whatsoever with him as our manager. And the third reason is the Hibs semi-final at Hampden. I think it was the Scottish Cup, maybe the League Cup, sorry. We were 3-0 down at half-time, Martin Boyle's hat-trick, which was mentioned yesterday. That was in between Gerrard and Van Bronckhorst. McCallum was actually in charge of the team that day. and it was basically a disaster from start to finish. Connor Goldstein actually came out after the interview and said he chucked it at half time publicly.
I remember that. Yeah,
which wasn't great at all, to be honest with you. So it's a non-starter. I'm not going to give him a 0 just purely out of respect. He's a club employee, and he's done not too bad, to be honest with you. He's gave us a couple of players. He's gave us Ross McCausland. He's gave us Nathan Patterson as well. So give him a 2, but it's a non-starter for me.
fair enough. And thank you for the comments coming at the side. It is a discussion on the possibilities. It's not us suggesting that these are the guys we want to go for, but we'd like to talk through the different possibilities and why they suit, so we can kind of put that to bed. So thanks very much for that. We're going to move on to unlikely interim possibilities, which maybe will be a bit more fun, maybe not. We'll see. I'll start with you, Ryan. So first one, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now, I'm a big fan of him as a player. I loved him coming on as a super sub. He does have a relationship with Patrick Stewart, having worked at Man U at the same time. He has worked at the top level in management. He has worked as a caretaker before, and he plays attacking football and introduced youth players. The downsides to him is he might want the job permanently, and we're only discussing interim at the moment. So what do you think?
More like it, to be honest with you. More of a kind of household name that's going to get the excitement levels up. We're obviously going to have to lean quite heavily on the Man U connection with Patrick Stewart to make it happen. But yeah, if he was interested in doing it, I'd be interested in having it. I think he would just put a wee kind of surge into the building, to be honest with you as well. I think the likes of young Eagleman would learn a lot from, even if it was only for a short period of time. I think, boys like him could take a lot from his game. So for me, a 7 out of 10 on that one. Very
good, 7 out of 10. Come to you next, Jock. I'm assuming you remember him as a player, but what did you think of him as a manager?
He's done all right. Done with Cardiff. He came over was it Molde? He won the league with Molde and then
Molde, yeah.
And then obviously stepped into the United job and was there for a couple of years. Didn't do too badly, and that we all know what's happening at United. It kind of echoes what's happening at Rangers over the past 3 or 4 years with the managers chopping and changing. Personally, I could see it happening, but like you say, it's quite a big name, and I think he's got good experience being under Alex Ferguson, who's arguably one of the greatest managers who ever lived. So I'm sure he could do a job for us. So I wouldn't go a 7, I'll maybe go a 6 on that one.
Okay, Ricky.
Interesting one, to be honest with you. I think he's a young boy. He's gained a lot of experience with that Manchester United job, because even all the downs, he'd have learnt from all those downs. Clearly got something about him, because he did well at Molde, did well at Cardiff, hence why he got the Man U job. So there's definitely ticks in the box there, and he would maybe bring certain players from the Scandinavian market, because maybe it's an area that we could maybe tap into. So from that point of view, it may be something that you could look to, but I'm not convinced he would come in as an interim manager. I think he's got too much stock, albeit he goes down as a failure at Manchester United. I still think he's probably got too much stock to come in and be our sort of a 4-month saviour. But yeah, I'd go get 7 out of 10 for that one. That's not a bad shout, that one, actually.
And the other con I thought of, it's not on the slide, was probably his wage demands as well would be high, despite, as I say, maybe not won anything dramatically and did leave Man United, but he's still a big name, and that's the thing that the Premiership badge or the Premiership status kind of gets you, isn't it? So what do you say? Do you say 7 out of 10 there?
Yeah, that's quite an interesting shout, that one.
No worries. Let's move on to the next candidate. Russell Martin. Now, knows the club. He was here for a short time. Gave away a penalty, I believe. Was it the Hibs? Top level managerial experience. Style of play was fine with a better team compared to the rest of the league. He gives youth players a chance, which I guess is something we kind of like here. Again, he would want the job permanent. Something I don't like is that manager's very stubborn with his style of play, which is what we're seeing at the moment and what we've seen with Gio as well, and to an extent Beale. and he has had criticism of his style of play. So, Ricky, I'll start with you this time. Russell Martin, he's a young manager still, but he's done all right.
He had a fantastic season last year with Southampton. Generally ripped that championship up. His problem is when he come up to the Premiership this year, he's continued with that style of play, which is obviously pretty well known for those that watch the kind of English football. And he's not prepared to change. But what he was trying to do is compete with the big boys, with championship players, basically. And he was found wanting. But his style of play is just fantastic. It's high energy stuff. And I just don't think that he had the type of players that he needed to win games in the English Premiership, which is probably the strongest league in the world, that in the La Liga. So would he be able to cut the mustard up in Scotland, given a level of player that he'd be able to bring in? Probably. The Rangers fans would love the style of play that he would bring into the club. There was certainly a style that you can buy into, albeit there isn't a plan B with him, and I think that's the problem with him. There's no plan B. A bit like Stevie G, I don't think they've had a plan B. It was all sort of a gun-ho, and he's certainly gun-ho. So, again, interesting one, mate, but another one who wouldn't come, as an interim. He'd want the job permanently. But yeah, an interesting one. Again, maybe go with a 7 with that one, 7 out of 10.
Yep. No worries. Joe, that is one of the negatives, is that he would want the job permanently. But we'll have to kind of put that to the side just now, because if he did well, and come back and gets the deficit down in the league, and wins the Scottish Cup and gets us further into Europe, there's a case to give a manager that does that the permanent job. But on an interim basis just now, how would you feel about him coming in?
I think it's a style of play. I think we'd excite the fans once it's implemented and once the players can do it. But the thing is, it's a high intensity style of play, and I don't think our squad at the moment could cope with that style of football. And I think that the players that are already racking up injuries would slip them 40 bits. So even more so if they're asked to run them out and play the style and the tempo and the energy that he, like as Ricky says, tore up the championship with last season, and just didn't have the quality to step forward in the Premier League with it. Interim manager, yes, he's got previous with the club. 6, 7 out of 10. I would be interested to see if the squad that we have now could play that style of football with the 3 or 4 months worth of football we've got left to play. I would be interested to see that, actually. Good
stuff. Right, Ryan, what's your thoughts on Russell Martin? What did you think of him when he was with us for a start?
Bomb scare. Absolute bomb scare.
Yep.
It's part of our history I'm trying to forget about, to be honest with you. Not fantastic, but probably quite an uninspiring name, to be honest with you. I think you're kind of Joe Public supporter, you're putting it on the stand, probably quite uninspired about him. I think possibly likewise in the dressing room as well. He's obviously a player. He did play a lot of kind of decent level games, but I don't think he's not a player that I would, associate with success and winning trophies and being a bit of a winner. I'm not as well versed as like Ricky is with his style of football and stuff like that. I don't watch a lot of Championship football, to be honest with you. 5 out of 10 for me. Hoping it doesn't happen.
Fair enough. Right, we'll move on again. And I have Steve Cooper, Welsh manager. Pros, he uses different formations. He's won the Championship playoffs with Nottingham Forest. Changes the style of play for different opponents. Would give youth a chance with being a former English nation team youth manager. Sorry, can't get that out. The criticisms of Steve Cooper is the lack of identity. Again, would want the job permanently. So that's something to be, because I can't see my last point under that slide banner, so I apologise if you can see it, read it out. But I don't know a lot about Steve Cooper, Ryan, I'll be honest, but what's your opinion?
Can you hear me there, sorry?
Yeah, Ryan, yeah, sorry.
I was just leaving your last point there. Rumoured to be more mates with the players and the manager, if that makes sense.
I forgot about that one.
Again, it's something a bit uninspiring, to be honest with you. I've no doubt if the M6 was made a call, he would run right over the top of it to get up here to take the job on. It's very kind of out of the park. kind of name for us. But he does kind of fit that kind of older kind of manager that maybe we'd be quite happy just to come up and have the experience of babysitting the club just for 6 months. I'm not really too familiar with the teams that he's managed. He's not just recently lost a job down south. Was he the Forest manager?
Leicester.
Sorry?
Leicester City.
Leicester, right, okay. So, there's better names on the list here. 6 out of 10 for him.
6 out of 10. Jock, what do you know about Steve Cooper and his managerial style?
Not a lot, to be fair. I just know that he was Forest, and then obviously was given the Leicester job there recently until he's been replaced by Van Nistelrooy, who I would have thought Van Nistelrooy would have took a stab at the Rangers job if we decided to get rid of Clement back in October when we were chatting about it. Actually, I wanted, as if it's going to be an interim, a possibility of being permanent would have been Van Nistelrooy. But Cooper himself, I think, British manager would probably, as Ryan says, he'd probably walk over hot coals to get up here. He wouldn't be the first manager to say that. I know somebody else that I would like to have seen was Bilic. He said the same thing. He would swim to Glasgow to get for either side of the divide. So 6 out of 10 only purely because of the Premier League experience, which again is elite level. And probably come in and do an interim job, no bother for us.
Ricky, we were talking again before, and you did know a wee bit more than I did about Steve Cooper. Could you enlighten us if you could?
Well, yeah, he knocked about the lower levels very successfully. And then his big break was when he got the Nottingham Forest job. And I can tell you right now, he's got a good stock down in England. And Nottingham Forest fans, even albeit they get rid of him, still love him. They adore what he did for that club. He was the guy in the job at the moment is just a stepping stone from Stevie Cooper. So when Maresca left to go to Chelsea, they didn't mess about Leicester. They didn't mess about at all. They went straight for him because of his stock with Nottingham Forest. But he was still messing about with what was Championship players because Maresca never really built that team from the Championship promotion side. So he was back to sort of square one with a team. He brought in a couple of players on loan, a couple of Spurs players, Harry Winks being one. They're not going to keep them in the Premiership. So unfortunately, he lost his job at Leicester, but he's got a good stock. Whether he would come to Rangers, do we need? I just then I'll go back to what I was harping on earlier on about we need a good coaching team with a leader, and for me, a Sam Allardyce, somebody of that ilk, would be a far better interim manager. Even David Moyes, but David Moyes would never take a job interim, whereas Sam Allardyce would with a good coaching staff. For me, if we were to go down this route, that's who I would like to see. 5 out of 10 for Steve Cooper for me, mate.
No worries, Ricky. If we do a permanent manager pod, we'll get you back on for get a bit more deep dive on those two, if that's all right. Last but not least, and I'll stay with you, Ricky, and that is Gary O'Neill. English manager, obviously done well with Wolves before losing some key players, and you could say they weren't replaced. Top level managerial experience. Would want the job permanently, which I'm not against, to be fair. I know we're talking about interim, but we can discuss how good they were a few months down the line. But also, again, criticism of not changing his style. What do you know about Gary O'Neill, Ricky?
Well, out of all of them, he'd be the one I would have, definitely, because before he got the Wolves job, he was down at Bournemouth, and he had Bournemouth playing so well. And the Bournemouth fans, I don't know any personal Bournemouth fans, but you look at Harry Redknapp, who was absolutely gobsmacked that the Bournemouth decided to release him from his contract and give the job to the Spanish boy. Obviously, the board knew what they were doing because the Spanish boy's doing a decent job. Cordoba, whatever his name is, I'm not too sure. And that's when he walked into he was given the job at Wolves. And again, he lost some big players, in 900 or 90 million pounds worth of players, and he wasn't allowed to replace them. and he's lost his job a couple of weeks ago because Wolves are languishing down the bottom of the Premiership. Well, that's clearly going to be the case if you're going to lose your big players and you're not allowed to sort of replace them. But Gary O'Neill plays fantastic football, guys, and he knows how to defend. Whether it be Bournemouth, they're very attractive football. They never ever get smashed. And the same as at Wolves, they were losing the odd game by the odd goal, but the Wolves fans loved them. But just they had to go because they're kind of in danger of relegation if they keep on going. But he'll be the first to tell you the reason why they're languishing there is because the players they lost and he wasn't allowed to replace them.
Mm-hmm. So is that a 10 out of 10 for you?
No, I wouldn't give him a 10, mate, but I certainly be the highest for me. So yeah, 7 out of 10 out of the kind of the candidates. He would be my preferred one. Yeah.
Okay, Jock. I'm assuming you know a wee bit more about him being with Wolves and doing quite well in the Premier League. I don't know. Maybe you don't watch as much Premier League, but what's your thoughts on Gary O'Neill?
No, he'd be out of everybody on that list. I'd be the same boat as Ricky. He'd be my preference out of that list. Was a good style of football. As Ricky says, he lost a lot of talent, a lot of expensive talent that he didn't have the money to replace with. I think financial fair play rules come into play and it kind of hamstrung his buying power. He was on the bad end of some dubious VAR calls a couple of weeks on the bounce that cost him 3 points and a lot of games as well. But yeah, his stock when he was at Bournemouth was great, and he was doing well with Wolves up until the summer whenever he lost all his talented players. So he's one that out of everybody there would be the one I would choose out of that list, and I would go for an 8 as well, 8 or a 9 out of 10 in that.
Well, that's by far the most popular so far. Ryan, last words on Gary O'Neill. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, Wolves are a football team I enjoyed watching under his management. He's obviously done well with Bournemouth under a limited budget as well. So, purely possibly from the kind of quality of the entertainment on the park, 7 out of 10 there for that. I think if we do lose the manager, it's going to be difficult to keep bums on seats, to be honest with you. Because if we do lose him, it's probably going to be the back of a bad result. So, the last thing you want to see is an empty Ibrox. So, to bring somebody in that can put a good, quality of style of football in the park, definitely, why not? If he's up for it, I don't know if he would be. I dare think he's probably looking to get back into permanent management down there. He might need to drop down a level to do it, to go to the Championship, to get himself back in full time somewhere. But if he'd be willing to come up and have a chat with us, why not? 7 out of 10 for me for that one.
7 out of 10. Let me bring this back down. We'll go back to normal. Ian, let me just comment on your comment. I'm sorry, mate. When I've got the slides up on the screen, I have to kind of zoom in and out to see the comments. So if there's been comments at the side, mentioning players. What I did see was McInnes a few times, and I'm not a big fan of McInnes coming in at all. That's just my personal opinion. Ryan, let me just we've got a minute left. Who would be your pick out of this, not including that list, for interim manager?
For the interim manager side of things, Niko Kovac.
Okay. We need to keep it quick because we'll have to finish up on there. But Jock, yourself?
I'm going to steal what Doug said in the chat, and that was Philip Koku. I thought that was a good shout.
If he would come, I'd probably agree with that, yeah. Ricky, you get any out of the box or your suggestion for interim manager that's not been on this list? Well, he's froze for me. Is he froze for you guys?
Maybe. Jock had mentioned somebody there who would jump up. Jock, was it you mentioned there? We've got your Rangers or Celtic. Was it Uruguayan?
No, Bilic.
Slaven Bilic.
Slaven Bilic would be a good shout. I mean, he's a no-nonsense manager. He would build the team from the back. I think so. Yeah, he'd be a good shout. But he's a leader, and I think that's what we need. We can't afford to be messing about with interims. We need a proven leader for an interim. You know what I mean?
Well, I've seen some names at the side. Muscat comes back up. Mark Van Bommel's there. See if there's any other ones I can see through the list. And McInnes again. Anyway, guys, Ricky, thank you very much for coming on this evening. We went a wee bit longer than normal, but we had all these slides prepared, so Scotty told us we could. Thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Thanks very much. Nice talking to you, and I look forward to the coming year.
And Jock, I'll come to you next. Thanks again, mate, for coming on. Good to talk to you.
No, thanks for having me. That was an interesting discussion. That.
And Ryan, mate, great poster behind you, and I love the strip. I'll need to pick one up, but not till it's in the sale. I've seen the price of it; they're ridiculous.
It's a Christmas present from me to me, so all good there.
Okay, guys. Well, look, everyone, thank you very much for your comments. Sorry if I didn't get to them the way you'd like. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us grow, helps other people see us as well, comes up in suggestions. And if you do like listening to podcasts, this podcast will go out on the usual podcast app, so Amazon, Spotify, Apple, and all the other ones, not long after the show finishes. So please, if you do like to listen to us, tell your friends about us, like and subscribe. And remember, every night is a Rangers Journal night. Good night.